I'm Vivienne. My life always seemed perfect. A beautiful home, a loving husband, and a life everyone envied from the outside. But no one could see the storm inside me. No one noticed the emptiness in my eyes every morning when I looked in the mirror. Not until that day. The day he walked into my life. Daniel. My neighbor's nephew. He was staying with us for a few weeks while he was in town for work. The first moment I saw him. No, it's impossible to feel that drawn to someone so quickly. But when he looked into my eyes, he saw a part of me no one else had ever seen. Getting lost in his gaze felt like being swept away in a river. Dangerous, yet irresistible. At first, everything was innocent. He didn't know what I was going through, and I tried to keep my distance. But his laugh, oh, his laugh. It filled the room and took my breath away. His hands. How could they be so mesmerizing, even when he was just holding a coffee cup? One evening, when my husband was away on a business trip, everything changed. Daniel and I were sitting in the living room. A movie was playing on the TV, but neither of us was watching it. It was just us, and the silence. Even in that silence, the energy between us felt electric, like it could cut through the air. "Vivienne," he said softly, his voice almost trembling. "Has anything ever left you breathless?" My eyes locked with his. I couldn't answer. Because at that moment, the thing leaving me breathless was sitting right in front of me. Something happened that night. Words can't fully capture it, but the pull between us. It was unlike anything I'd felt in years. Terrifying, but addictive. And that's how it began. Stolen glances, accidental touches. Until one night, the inevitable happened. Our bodies collided, our secrets tangled together. But happiness always has a price. On one side, there was my marriage, my entire life. On the other, there was the constant fear of being caught with Daniel. Yet every kiss, every touch made me forget everything else. That night, it was the sharpest turn my life had ever taken. On one hand, my morals and the life I'd built. On the other, the fire Daniel ignited on my skin. Wherever I looked, I saw a cliff, and I chose to fall. The first time Daniel and I were truly alone, everything changed. We talked, and I found myself sharing things I hadn't told my husband in years. My disappointments, my desires, the darkness I'd kept locked away. Daniel didn't just listen, he understood. In his eyes, for the first time, I felt whole. Then it happened. As I stood up from the couch, my hand brushed against his knee. Just for a second, but it was electric. I pulled back instinctively, but our eyes met. And in that moment, he leaned in, slowly, quietly. I forgot how to breathe. A voice inside me screamed to stop, to step away. But Daniel's presence drowned it out. "Vivienne," he whispered, his voice raw and shaky. "If this is wrong, tell me to stop." I couldn't speak. I didn't know what to say, and he didn't wait. When his lips touched mine, it was like a volcano erupting inside me. Wanting him was a sin, I knew that. But for the first time, guilt wasn't enough to stop me. After that night, everything was different. At breakfast, when our eyes met across the table, my heart raced. When our hands brushed under the table, I swore everyone could hear my heartbeat. When my husband came home, I couldn't look him in the eye because Daniel's touch still lingered on my skin. Every meeting with Daniel became riskier. One afternoon, while my husband worked downstairs, Daniel came up behind me in the kitchen. "Vivienne," he said, his voice barely a whisper, "I can't stop wanting you." His words hung in the air like a confession, and I wanted to pull away. But at the same time, I craved his closeness. One night, I had to leave town for a few days. As I said goodbye to Daniel in the garage, I saw the desperation in his eyes. For a moment, I thought about leaving everything behind and running away with him. "Come with me," he said softly. But I couldn't answer, because we both knew it wasn't possible. Things got more complicated with time. My husband started to notice. "Vivienne," You've been so distracted lately. Is something wrong? He asked, and I just shook my head, avoiding his gaze. But at night, lying next to him in bed, Daniel's eyes were all I could see. Every moment felt like a gamble, and somehow, the danger only made us closer. The thrill of it all became part of the passion. One evening, as we met in a hotel room, Daniel cupped my face in his hands. "Vivienne," he said, his voice heavy with emotion, "I can't keep living like this, hiding in the shadows. But I can't imagine a life without you." His words shook me to my core, but my answer was the same as always: silence. I know this is wrong. It's a terrible mistake, I won't deny it. But this feeling, for the first time in my life, I feel alive. Daniel awakened something in me, something that had been asleep for years. But what will this awakening cost me? One day, it will all come out. I know that. But until that day, can I keep this fire burning inside me, or will I let it consume everything in its path? I keep asking myself the same question, and I still don't have an answer. But what about you? If you were me, would you risk everything for this? Or would you bury these feelings and do what's right? This isn't the end of my story, my friends. The real storm hasn't even begun. Maybe next time I'll tell you more. For now, let me leave you with this thought. Will love win? Or will guilt? And hey, if my story has touched you, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you do in my place. Until next time, stay close. My next confession might change everything.